Isobel Lang. I nearly said our favourite weather presenter, but I realise I must never say that, Isobel, though it is lovely to see you, and a very happy new year to you. So gosh, this white Christmas never came, but now it's really cold, and there's certainly been snowflakes floating about outer London today. So give us an overview of what's going on, if you would.
I know, it's weirdly exciting, isn't it, when snow starts to fall? And actually, when I woke up this morning at about 5 o'clock in the morning, I still got that sort of slightly excited feeling about, did it really happen? I mean, it's not a big snow story in that there's just a few flurries around, but it is settling over some hills, and there is concern for travelling, obviously, because we do have this zone of winter showers pushing westwards across southern Britain. And there's a mixture of snow, a bit of sleet and hail mixed in. But, you know, they will settle over some of the hills. And that's still to keep pushing westwards across the West Country and into South Wales and Southwest England. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few spots saw a centimetre or two down at low levels. And then, of course, turning really quite slippy and icy later in the night as skies clear. So a bit of a worry for travellers later in the night with that yellow warning expiring at 3 a.m.
Talk to me about the floods. I mean, the people who are engulfed in them right now, I mean, you can feel nothing but the utmost compassion for them. How awful. It seems inevitably every year there are various areas of the country submerged underwater and then struggling for sometimes years afterwards to get back on their feet in terms of businesses that they're running and, you know, getting their houses, renovated afterwards. It's all very expensive, time consuming, heartbreaking, scary too. What's going on? It's particularly in Norfolk, isn't it, and other places around there?
Yeah, it's awful. The River Severn, Trent and Thames obviously all badly affected. I drove up to Warwick University yesterday to take my daughter back to uni, and the fields are just flooded, as you can see them at either side of the M40. And there are many people who will still be affected, Vanessa, for a few days yet. Still river levels high and still around about 140 flood warnings in force. I mean, it just really couldn't be more different, the change in weather. I mean, we've had weeks of wet and windy and mild weather, and then this sort of switch off with now high pressure blocking those weather systems coming in from the Atlantic. So, I mean, that's good news. It is looking so much drier, but the problem is, I know the rain's not falling from the sky, but the flooding, we've still got all the rain to sort of collect in the catchments, to still filter through the river systems, groundwater as well in the south. So there will still be flooding issues for a few days yet, but at least the weather forecast is drier for many, which is brilliant news, just what we need. But obviously then we've had that sort of flip side with the cold, that cold accentuated by that east wind today. I mean, it has felt bitter out there with the snow flurries, of course. And we've also had fog, for example, in Aviemore today. I was looking at the temperatures, Vanessa, this afternoon, -3 in Aviemore with fog. Horrible.
Horrible. And is it unseasonably cold, or is it pretty normal that this time of year should be this cold?
Well, obviously, it's January. It's one of the coldest winter months, but it is below average by about 3 to 6 degrees, particularly in the south. So we have had cold continental air coming in across the south. So it's, I suppose, fairly unusually cold across southern Britain, more normal for the time of year across the north. What's interesting, though, is that over the next few days, the centre of the high pressure that's dominating drifts a little bit to the west and southwest. It allows a bit more cloud to come around the high, sort of making a bit more dull, I should think, after a sunny couple of days. It'll become a bit more dull, not as cold as it has been. And then after that high pushes further and further west, it allows northerly winds to come in. And through the weekend, we're keeping an eye on things. All weather people are keeping an eye on things for the weekend. A cold front pushes south, and it looks as though eventually it becomes increasingly cold with the Arctic air plunging across us. And it could well be that if I'm talking to you on Monday next week, we are talking about heavy snow. So that's something we're watching. Cold enough now, could be colder next week.
Isobel, thank you very much indeed. My goodness.